Hello and welcome. I am Exit Light, and this is my podcast. Today, as usual lately, I have my friend and co host, Rob. Hello, Rob.
Hello, Tracy. How are you?
I am good. How are you, Rob?
I'm fine, thank you.
Um, Before we start, I would like to say if you would please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. It really helps. I'd really appreciate it. If you would like to be subscribed, please do so. And if you'd like to be notified of my content when it goes up, click that bell, but please pay attention because now near the bell, you will be given an option of how often you want to be notified, and it's a little confusing. So please take a moment to notice and then choose how often you'd like to be notified. Anything you'd like to start off by saying, Rob?
Um, Looking forward to this one. I'll let you tell everybody what we're going to be talking about today.
Okay, we are going to be talking about hearing voices, paranoia, schizophrenia, and what's different about why are some people medicated and some people lead a cult? Is it possible that the what you hear or see is a religious experience of some sort, or that there's something else out there that you can see or hear that we don't? And because we don't, we classify it as a mental illness. So we're going to talk about that and why we're allowed to hear one voice in our head, which is our own. Anything else, that's not acceptable in society. So is that what we're talking about, Rob?
Certainly is. And
Okay,
before we
go ahead.
go on, no, go
No,
on.
no, no, go. No, go ahead.
One of the reasons we're going to talk about this today is because I suffer from a disorder where not schizophrenia, I'm not schizophrenic, but I do hear voices. So we're going to come at it from all different angles, and I'm going to be looking at it from the point of view that it's a medical condition, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a medical condition. Other than that, I'm losing my mind.
Well, yeah.
But, but what mind I've got left?
Yeah, and that's how we did get started on it because we were talking about it, and I said to you, what do you think? Why do you think it's different than somebody who says that they hear God and then they're put on a pedestal sometimes. Sometimes they're medicated. And we kind of pick and choose by the charisma of the person, I think. How the person looks, how they dress, uh, by whether or not they're something special or schizophrenic homeless person. So we got to talking about that and thought, oh, we should ask that question to my subscribers.
I used to work with a girl, an Indian girl. It's funny how the crossover between cultures is so different. In my opinion, that her granddad, I can't remember if it was a dad or a granddad, he was schizophrenic
Hmm.
or allegedly schizophrenic, and he was shunned by the family completely,
Really?
and he he ended up being like you just said, he ended up being homeless, and she it's when I lived in Manchester. She would we actually drove past him, and she said that's my dad or my granddad,
Mm.
and she wasn't allowed to even have any contact with him at all, and even go up to him in the street to give him a cup of coffee or a burger or anything, just to help him or give him any money, or it was really really shunned.
Why?
It's it's part. I mean, I can't answer that question because I just I don't know, but it was so sad. This man who, and I think that's when I first started asking myself the question: what if he's right and we're all wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the fact that he's hearing something or seeing things, maybe he's the one that's right and we're the one that's wrong. But
Yeah.
that's a bit going into it a bit deeply. But uh, I thought it was very very sad.
Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if it was. Well, I don't know anybody to ask. Like, would that be a religious thing or being worried about a mental illness thing, or I don't know. That's sad. That is sad.
Yeah,
Well, my own brother is a schizophrenic, and he's bipolar schizophrenic. Uncle Mike, as my longtime listeners will know, Uncle Mike. Um, and he says he hears voices, but he hears the kind of voices that tell him, say, tell him to be violent and stuff like that. And I would say that he's probably he began using drugs at a really young age, probably 12. Started on marijuana, but before that he was put on medication for ADHD, and then marijuana, and then I know that people say that marijuana is not a gateway drug and everything, but in some people's case, I think it can be because
yeah,
um, once you cross over the line into doing something that's illegal, like a drug, it's easier to cross it over the line again and to take another drug. And that's been the experience in my life of people around me, people I know. It's just I'm going to leave it at that. And that has been what I've seen is that once you are okay with breaking the law in that regard, it's easier. And crossing a line isn't that big of a deal anymore. So that's what happened with my brother, and I think that doing more drugs, meth. Well, you just go ahead and put your spin the wheel and throw a dart at it. And he took it. Well, my bad. He wouldn't take heroin because he's afraid of needles. And I just really, really, really got demonetized hardcore. I was hoping this would be one I wouldn't get demonetized on. Anyway, I think that certainly didn't help him.
well, do you think that he the substance abuse was because of the voices, maybe to try and stop the voices, or do you
Yeah.
think it was because of the voices that he was,
Mm-mm.
or is it a little bit of both?
I think he was trying to self-medicate.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the word I
when,
was looking for.
yeah, when he's now, we make fun of my brother because he's generally an easy target. He's a very, very funny. I'm sorry, I'm joking. He's a
Easy
very,
for you
very
to say.
yeah. He's a very funny, um, boisterous guy. He'll grab the attention of everybody in the room. He's the kind of person that tells a story with his whole being, his whole body and his face. And he's very smart and really could have, if he had used his talent for sniffing out drugs, he probably, in a different manner, he would have done like very well in any field he chosen. But uh, when he's just being him and we're sitting around talking, he'll say that he self-medicated and that's what, led him down the path. And 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 then of course once he feels better, is taking medicine and feels better, then he tells himself he can go off the medication, and which is what a lot of people do, and then he's back to square one. It's like chasing your tail.
Mm.
Having a mental illness and being a drug addict is, it's like chasing your tail.
Yeah.
Anyway, so um, I want to read something about. Um, I have several different things I want to read about religion and schizophrenia, and then we can talk about, you know, medical diagnosis and whatnot throughout this, okay?
Okay.
The relationship between religion and schizophrenia is of particular interest to psychiatrists because of the similarities between religious experiences and psychotic episodes. I want to pin that. I want to pin that specific thing there because I want to talk about it. Religious experiences often involve auditory and or visual hallucinations, and those with schizophrenia commonly report similar hallucinations along with a variety of beliefs that are commonly recognized by modern medical practitioners as delusional. In general, religion has been found to have both a protective and a risk increasing effect for schizophrenia. Well, the last time we talked, Rob, I told you that in my evangelical church, that, or maybe it was 2 times ago, that they spoke in tongues, remember?
Mm.
And I can't begin to count the amount of times that I heard guest speakers come and talk about seeing angels, having conversations with angels, uh, speaking in tongues in general, and what they would hear at that time. Those are spiritual. Mm, I don't know what they are. Are they spiritual delusions? There's something, because if normal people go around saying, if you weren't saying I saw an angel, if you were saying I saw a cat and it was talking to me, people would be like, somebody needs their medication, right? Right? But when somebody's like, oh, when I saw an angel, they're like, oh, that's a miracle. What's the difference? Is there a difference? Is there? I mean, I would like to know. I in the hearing the voices thing. Um, tell the story, and I'm not gonna tell the whole story, but where we weren't gonna have any more children. There was My husband said this, and this needs to happen before I could even consider having another child. And slowly but surely, this, and that happened. Well, the reason that conversation came up in the first place is because we had a newborn baby. And that's moderator Maya. And we weren't going to have any more children. We had 3, and that was plenty. And I was standing in a hospital, and I very clearly heard a voice. Now, in my case, it was my voice. It wasn't a stranger's voice. It wasn't, it was like the voice you hear when you think. Say, you're going to have another child, and it's going to be a boy. So it came at me in a manner of which wasn't petrifying. And I and I always say this to people. Okay, I'm going to tell you about this, and I'm not crazy. It's not crazy. Because as soon as you say, and I heard a voice, they're like, gotta go, right? Oh, I've had fun. It's nice. Look at the time. So I always like, listen, hear me out. And I went home and told my husband, hey, I heard a voice. I know I'm holding my literal newborn infant in my hands, and he's like, yeah, so you want to pass her over here? And anyway, as it turned out, guess what? We had another baby, and it was a boy. But that kind of experience, because it's religious, I think, is taken in a different way than if I said, and I was sitting there and I looked over and there's a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And he said to me, "You're going to have another baby and it's going to be a boy." And right? And they'd be like, not possible. So it's interesting to me what is allowed and what is not. That we can hear our own voice, and that's allowable. Hearing another voice is not allowable.
Is that a word,
It
allowable?
allowable? Yes, that's not allowable. What else would you say?
I don't know. It's not allowed.
It's not allowed.
Oh.
It's not allowed. I, Rob, this voice said, "Say it's not allowable." It's not allowable. I don't know. I'm stuck on that now. Um. So anyway, it says a common report from those with schizophrenia is some type of religious belief that may that many medical practitioners consider to be delusional, such as the belief that they are divine beings or prophets, that God is talking to them, that they are possessed by demons, etc. Okay, pin that over there too. I talk with my hands, so I'm literally sitting in my living room in the dark. And I literally just pretended to put a pin in a non-existent wall.
And
I
I'm the
should.
crazy one.
I know. That's. I was like, maybe I am crazy. Active and adaptive coping skills in subjects with residual schizophrenia are associated with a sound spiritual, religious, or personal belief system. In the study of patients with schizophrenia that had been previously admitted to hospitals, 24% had what the medical field refers to as religious delusions, which sort of makes me mad because I would say most doctors and scientists probably aren't religious, tend to not be religious. So them deciding what is a religious delusion or not is, I just don't, I'm not going to put a whole lot of weight behind it. I would assume that they would do that. They're doctors. They're going to see it as a medical issue. But such is the belief that they are divine beings or prophets, so that God is talking to them, they are possessed by demons. Okay, so how many times? The Mormon religion wouldn't exist if people had looked at Joseph Smith and said, "You know what, bud?
You're a lunatic.
Yeah, you're a delusional. You're having a religious delusion. Nobody spoke to you. You're not a prophet, and you're not special. We're going to put you in a room by yourself and it's padded. You'll love it." It wouldn't exist. How many religions would exist? How about Jesus Christ? I am the Son of God. Well, you have to. You are in those days. Imagine what you would think. You are delusional, or you have such a massive ego that you think you're the Son of God. I mean, how easy would it have been to say mental illness? Most religions are based, the Muslim religion, the religion what's the religion where they can't? Oh, where they go to Tibet and the little guy sits with his legs crossed.
Buddhists.
They're Buddhists.
Buddhists.
Richard Gere. What's his name? What's the name of the guy he goes to see?
Oh, the Dalai Lama.
Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama. I mean, people picked him out as being the Dalai Lama. You get picked out. And then okay, I'm the Dalai Lama. Goes through tests or, things to test and see if he is. He thinks he's the voice of here, you know, of the religion, the representative of the religion. I can't really think of a religion that didn't start out with somebody thinking They were special.
Yeah. Well, they're chosen from being baby when they're born, and they've got to have certain marks on their body, and they are picked from being a baby to trained all through their lives to take over from the previous Dalai Lama.
Yeah, but sometimes they're wrong. Sometimes they take several, and then only one can be it. But they all have this ability, the possibility of being the Dalai Lama. So it's not them being delusional at first, right? It's everybody around them having a quote unquote religious delusion. I mean, that's a lot of people to be having a religious delusion.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, there aren't really many religions where there's no religion where somebody doesn't think they're special. And hearing from God, every pastor on this planet um, is talked to by God. Who isn't? I would say probably maybe the only religion that isn't based on somebody thinking they were special would be the Jewish religion.
Well, Moses went
Well,
spoke to God, didn't he?
yes, the bush burned.
Mm.
Talk to him, right? You're right. Yes, you're right. So was
Yeah.
that
So
all schizophrenia? If science, well, if we were told, like with 100% certainty, that this was a scientific fact, that it is something in a person's brain that is different, and that's why they hear these things, and it's not religious. Can you imagine the crumbling of society?
yeah. Mm. It's easy to put things into a box, isn't it?
Yeah,
And just yeah, that's very deep. I mean,
interesting.
for me, I mean, do you mind me talking
No,
about my experience?
no, please do.
For me, it's not a religious experience at all.
Hmm.
It's it's the easiest way I can think of describing it is I have my little voice in my head, which everybody does,
Hmm.
which which is normal, and it's like being in a really large room full to the brim of people, all talking at the same time.
Okay.
Now, my medication keeps it at that. That is my normal, plus my little
Hmm.
voice. It keeps it when my medication doesn't work, which is not doing very well at the moment. It's like certain individuals within that room, I can hear them very clearly, like they're talking to me, like you're talking to me now. And it's very, in my case, it's very negative stuff. Um, Now, I don't know if when I've spoke to people in the past, because I thought this was a new thing that was happening to me. I was told that I've always heard voices, which I didn't realize. I don't know how I couldn't have known that, but maybe I wasn't as self-aware as I thought I was. But
Mm.
um, my voice is very negative, very um,
Derogatory.
derogatory. That's the word I was trying to think of. and just not nice, and try to attack my self-esteem and try to isolate me from my friends, like from you, from you, and because I've got such a huge circle of friends, you and Subway, that's about
Yes.
it.
In Subway.
But um, the medication, in my case, it does. When it's working, it does work. But I have been told that I shouldn't be living with this, listening to this room full of people, like the hum of all these people. I thought that was my normal. Apparently, it's not. My normal should be just my little voice in my head telling me, you know, whatever the little voice in your head tells you to do. Like, go and ask the girl out at Subway, because she might
Yes,
say yes. But
it's true. That was also my voice, though.
so, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, what is normal? What is your normal, Tracy?
Yeah,
What is your normal for you? What is? Do you
my
have
go
just a
ahead.
little voice?
Yes, I have my voice in my head, which is okay. So you have your voice in your head, which thinks, right?
Yeah.
And then you actually do have another voice, and that voice is called your conscience. Now think about this. Your conscience tells you what's right and wrong. So if I'm at a store, Target, and I see something that I really want, but I can't afford it, but it will fit in my pocket or my backpack or my purse, and
Ooh.
I go to take that, my conscience has a feeling and a voice that says this is wrong. That's not my thinking voice, right? That's not me thinking this is wrong. That is another allowable voice. And when I was growing up, we were told that is the Holy Spirit speaking to you and saying that is wrong.
So it's wrong to take stuff without paying for it.
Well, you probably get over that feeling after the first few times. There are other people have different kinds of morals, Rob. But I was just thinking about that, about voices. When you said, "What is your normal?" I was like, "Well, just this voice," but that's not true. I do hear and feel something else if I feel that I'm doing something that is morally, like for instance, I can't lie to save my life. Um, or so if I get on Amazon and I like buy something, I always feel guilty about making purchases. I really don't. It doesn't even have to. It can be something completely nothing that doesn't cost hardly anything, but we need in the kitchen or whatever. If I haven't, I have to tell my husband, like, oh, hey, by the way, I bought a spatula or whatever. Um, I, there's something, it's that Holy Spirit. It's so crazy. I feel guilty all the, it's the religious guilt I was raised with. It is. It, it is. In all honesty, it was because as I was raised, I had to do that to my mom, report everything. So it's still sort of in the psyche of me. But so now it's just directed to my husband, who's like, okay, good for you. Uh, but there is that voice in me that won't let me. just ignore it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know how they talk about the angel and the devil on your shoulder and you are literally arguing with yourself?
Yeah.
Have you ever done that? Well, like, like let's say you scratch a car, okay? Like I'm coming up with all these. It would be really nice if you'd come up with some sort of circumstance where maybe you didn't. Let's say you scratch a car. Like you get out of your car, the door hits it, and you're like, I have a couple of options here. I could get back in my car and move it,
Like
or
you
write
could.
and leave a note on the car and say, "My bad, I hit your car. Um, call me and I'll give you all my insurance information." Right?
Yeah.
And then you sit there and you go, I could move my car, or I could leave a note. And then you're looking at like, what is the damage? How much would this cost? Blah, 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 blah. You actually have a conversation with your own voice, right?
Yeah.
How is that normal? Why is that considered normal?
I
And
don't
then
know.
maybe you get in your car and you move it.
Hmm.
Rob,
Yeah.
would would you get in your car and move
I think it. To be completely honest with you, I think it would depend on the car that
it? That you
if
hit?
yeah, because if it was a car that was covered in dents and scratches,
Yeah.
then I would probably not
You'd be like,
leave my.
eh. Yeah.
But if it was a brand new BMW,
That's Rob. That's the exact car I was thinking of.
a brand new BMW, then probably I would.
I would too. And I like I said, I can't lie. So I would be like, I I have children, you know. If you want to buy one of those, I trade you because I can't afford to fix your BMW. I could sell my soul. What's left? What I would do, I if I find a wallet on the floor of a store, I would never take it. I would, and as a matter of fact, I wouldn't even go and give it to the store. I would look through your wallet, find your information, Google you, call you myself, because I wouldn't trust the person in the store.
I've done that.
I've done that too. I've done that with credit cards, cell phones, wallets, purses, um, and then I make sure I give it to you. I don't leave it with anybody else because
So yeah, yeah.
I can imagine, I can empathize with that gut twisting
Feeling
pain.
when
Yeah,
you realise you've lost,
yeah,
or
yeah. I can empathize with that, and so I'm not like other people who can find $200 in cash. Even if I found $200 in cash, I would get on a local like Facebook page now. Let's say back in the day when they didn't have like social media, I might ask for an envelope, ask for a manager, have as many people as possible see that I'm doing this, and and have them because I always, if I've lost a lot of money and called the store and we're like, is it there? You know, and of course they're always like, well, no, because nobody would turn it in, but I would.
yeah, I lost my wallet once, and I had about 80 quid in it, 80
Uh-huh,
pounds, sorry,
uh-huh.
and I got the wallet back, but the money was gone. Someone
Really?
someone had looked at my driving license, got my address,
Mm.
sent the wallet back to me, but the money had gone. I didn't know
Uh.
who had. Um, Obviously, I didn't know who it was.
And the more money, like if I found a $20 bill, I'd probably keep that, to be honest with you. But the
Mm.
more money it is, the more worried I am for the person who lost it.
Mm.
I found a bank bag once and was terrified for the woman or man
Did
who
it have
was
money in
supposed
it?
to. Yes,
How much money
there was a
was it?
deposit.
Mm.
I don't know. I didn't count it. I figured, no. Why? Why am I going to count it so that the other part of my brain can be like, that's a new car. You know? That other part of my brain can kick in and go, that'd be awesome if we went on a vacation.
I
Just,
think if I found a lot of money, my voice would be saying, "Well, this is God rewarding you for something." So
exactly.
maybe it would be the wrong thing to say to hand it in because
You're
I would
right.
talk myself into. I would convince. I would convince myself if it was a lot of money. But
That's so funny. That is so funny. All right, I'm going to use that. That's true. Perhaps God can reward me with a few $1,000s outside. Like if it's $3,000, I know somebody needs that money. That's somebody's month's worth of bills and groceries and blah 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 blah, right? That's what I would think. What the hell are they gonna do? But
yeah,
it but if you find like a business just dropped off $40,000, you're like, that's what they have insurance for. That's what God is telling me. Is that God's voice I'm hearing right now? This is for you, Tracy.
I mean, I found an old lady's purse once, and she had. I can't remember how much money she had in it, but we phoned her. We found out her address, and we dropped her purse back off. We didn't take any. There was money in it. I can't remember how much money there was in it, but uh, we she actually came round and found out where we lived, and she
Oh,
gave me £10,
oh, that was very nice.
and it's just for the kids. I let the kids have it.
Hmm. I hate people who steal. Stealing is the lowest form of humanity. I loathe a thief because I grew up with Uncle Mike, who I've told the stories 100 times. You know, remember I told you he would bite the bottoms off of my Valentine's candy and then put the candy back in the box.
Blah.
You know, so like I'm not gonna notice that. He if he stole if it wasn't nailed down, he stole it from me. Gold bracelets, you know, just the money for my tires. He came to he gave me money once to give me tires. It's a long story. I was broke, delicious, single, raising a child. Had literally had to. I did okay. I'm telling you, I hate people who steal. I worked in a restaurant. I stole money to feed my son on the weekend because I didn't work on Sundays, and I stole enough food for him. I went all day and I didn't eat. So I did steal that. But I was given some money to buy some used tires for my car because it was winter. I gave it to my brother who was going to take it to the gas station where they had used tires that they would keep aside and they could sell. They were still in good enough condition.
Yeah.
And he came home and told me that um, they had lost the money when they had actually spent it on drugs, and I may have punched him in the face as hard as I could. It's a possibility. I can't stand someone who steals. I can't stand it. Or lies. I hate liars. Why are we talking about this?
We're talking about voices, aren't we? The different.
Yes.
Because I
I
said
hate
about.
people who don't have that voice. I hate people who don't have that voice that says this is wrong.
Well, it's not so much people don't have the voice. I mean, we're talking about schizophrenia. I mean,
Hmm.
people like who are psychopaths. have the voice, but the voice is telling
Mm.
them
Mm.
their voice is telling them that it's okay for them to do it.
Yes.
So I had this issue with when I was working for Manchester Youth Offending Team. I've told you this story about the little boy and the
Yes.
underwear. He knew it was wrong to steal. He knew it was wrong because we gave him. I think he was on about 8 or 9. We gave him the scenario of if I came and took your bike away from you, that would be stealing. And he said, "Yeah, I understand that." And if I came in your house and took all your clothes, that would be stealing. Yes, I understand that. Well, do you not see what you're doing is wrong? Because he was kept going along the road and taking everybody's underwear off the washing lines, um, which obviously could there's deeper things going on there, but we were just dealing with the fact that he was stealing.
Right.
He understood the fact that it was wrong to steal,
Uh-huh.
but he didn't understand that it was wrong for him to steal.
That's so crazy. I don't want to use the word crazy, but so what was it that he had?
We all surmised that this kid, because obviously he was only 9,
Yeah.
that this kid had psychopathic
Ah.
tendencies because he could not, his brain didn't, his brain did not acknowledge. I'm trying to get this right. His brain did not acknowledge it, it was when it was him that was doing it. It was okay.
Interesting.
So he didn't think he was committing a crime. He didn't think he was doing anything wrong.
So a psychopath can their brain literally thinks differently.
Yeah, it's wired differently than, well, let's call it wired differently
Yeah.
than a normal person, whatever that may be.
Yeah. Well,
But
yeah.
because I always used to think that a psychopath didn't think things were wrong. Well, it's
Right.
not that. They do know that something. They know the difference between wrong and right and wrong.
Right.
But
Well, otherwise you
the
can in this country you could never try a psychopath for a crime because if you don't know the difference between right and wrong here, you can get off on being what criminally insane or something. Insane.
mm,
Insanity. Wow, it took me a long time to get down there. You can get off on an insanity plea. I mean, I think you're going to go to spend some time in a hospital, but that's a lot better than prison, probably. You know, but so yeah, they'd never be able to try a psychopath. So to hear you say that they do know right from wrong, well, yeah, that makes sense. It just doesn't apply to them.
mm, yeah,
Huh. That's scary for a child.
very very scary.
Is there? Mm, huh. So can you not cure? Is there no medication to cure a psychopath?
I,
Like,
well, I'm not a neurologist or a neuroscientist, but I don't I don't know. Obviously, you can be medicated to some degree, but I think it's that part of the brain. It's just they can look at the brain, can't they,
yeah,
and
yeah,
see
yeah,
what parts of the brain are firing up,
yeah.
and obviously this bit of the brain is which is for you doing right or doing wrong, or your little voice saying to you, "This is wrong."
They
Obviously,
don't got no Holy Spirit.
this their little voice is saying, "We know this is wrong, but it's okay for you to do it."
You know, to be a psychopath doesn't mean you're going to be a killer. Like they say, probably all really good businessmen are psychopathic
Yeah.
because they not that rules don't apply to them, but kind of rules don't apply to them. And they enter business transactions like it's a war, you know, and like a lot of people who like if you're like a surgeon, somebody who that's what they call like say doctors have a god complex, that like a lot of psychopaths become doctors because they have your life in their hands, and they kind of like that feeling, you know.
Mm.
Um, so you can be a completely functional person in society and still be a psychopath. Very few of them actually take the road down to serial killer.
Mm.
And I always think about that. Like when I'm out, when I'm dealing with somebody, I feel like you can feel those people. I am very empathetic. I am so empathetic. I mean, I'm not going to tell the whole story, but there was somebody a few doors down from me last week that um, was having a problem. And I had never met them, and they passed away, and in a not so great way. And I cried like a baby, like I knew them. I'm so empathetic that it's often hard. But anyway, I just can feel that kind of a vibe, and I feel like I can pick out a psychopath. Let me tell you a story. I can't say any names because, well, I can't say any names, but I was friends with some people once, and their 3-year-old son went missing while we were together. And everybody was losing their mind because we lived, you know, we lived by a freeway. We lived by busy streets. We lived where there was a pool on the property, a couple of pools on the property. And so the child goes missing. The first thing my husband does before the parents can even get there is check the pools so that if he's there, he can find him first. We look all over. We can't find him. And we're yelling, you know, his name, can't find him. And his he had a sibling. I'm not going to say if it was a boy or a girl, but he had a sibling who always faked emotions. They would fake cry, like no tears,
Yeah.
fake happy, like, but the laugh was completely fake. And sometimes you would catch them like laughing, pretend laughing, and then stop with this weird look on their face, like, you know, I don't know, like I'm not really laughing, kind of a thing. Well, I walked past this sibling while everybody's out there looking for him, and this sibling was fake crying. And I, they had been in charge of the baby, and I became instantly afraid because they were not only fake laughing, but like moaning out loud. Oh, oh, where is the baby? Oh, you know, and not a single tear. And I stopped and stood next to them and said, "Knock it off." And they zipped it up. Zoop. Nothing.
Mm.
And just stared at me. And I thought, oh my God, please, please do not have had this person do something. Totally, I believe that she's probably a psychopath. He possibly is he or she a psychopath. That behavior is not normal. By the way, we found the baby.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, he was in somebody's apartment who had children and hanging out watching TV, and I guess they thought that was normal.
Hmm.
But anyway, it just sent a chill down my back. And when I watched like O.J. Simpson crying on TV, called my husband. I said, "Hey, O.J. Simpson killed his wife because it was so fake. You could just a mile away." I do that to people all the time that are on there, and I'm like, "Oh, they did it. They did it." Can you? Do you ever feel like you can just see it?
Yeah, yeah, because I do it a lot with TV programs as well.
Uh
If I'm
huh.
watching some kind of crime drama type thing, or watching a film, I'll be able to sort of suss out who's the guilty one
Uh
after about 10, 15 minutes of watching the film.
huh.
I mean, I know that's not the same as real life,
Mhm.
but yeah,
Yeah. There's sometimes I just go, oof, walk, talk to Semi and walk away and say to my husband, ugh, ugh, there's something wrong with them.
hmm.
Anyway, back to this. I want to read something else about the religion thing. Okay. Schizophrenia is a complex psychotic disorder in which symptoms include emotional blunting, intellectual deterioration, social isolation, disorganized speech and behavior, delusions, and hallucinations. The cause of schizophrenia the causes of schizophrenia are unclear, but it seems that genetics play a heavy role as individuals with a family history are far more likely to suffer from schizophrenia. The disorder can be triggered and exacerbated by social and environmental factors, with episodes becoming more apparent in periods of high stress. Neurologists have found that the schizophrenic brain has larger ventricles, fluid-filled cavities, compared to a well brain. I like that they don't say a normal brain, a brain that doesn't have an illness. This is hypothesized to be due to the loss of nerve cells. Symptoms usually appear around the onset of early adulthood, which would be my brother. It is rare for a child to be diagnosed with schizophrenia, in part because of the difficulty in establishing what erroneous thoughts and beliefs can be attributed to childhood development.
Yeah,
Um, as far as genetics go, it's really my mom was adopted. I don't have anything. My no, let me reverse that. My biological father doesn't have anything to do with me, but I have found out my mother's history that there was mental illness in her family, um, suicide, um, some other stuff. So I wonder if you got it like from there. Is there anybody in your family that heard voices that you know of?
I mean, my mum had some mental illness, some mental health issues, and she was in and out of mental hospital. But
Mm-hmm.
I am not 100% sure why, um, because it wasn't talked about. Because we're a similar age, aren't we? It,
No, you're
things
much
were
older than me.
things. I just look better. It's just
Oh shit! Snap! Oh, all right. My
oh,
other voice in my head said, "Are you gonna stand there and take that shit?"
I know I'm going to get it back. Don't worry. I know. I know. That's what my voice is telling me. That you're going to regret that.
Oh, come on, Rob. You know. It was so nice.
Yeah. it wasn't talked about, was it? I mean, it's like we talk
Right.
about cultures and stuff like that. Things, you know, I mean, I knew obviously I knew that my mum was going into hospital, but I never knew why. No one ever
Right.
said. I, it was just the norm that every now and again she would just disappear for a couple of weeks.
She went to the farm.
Yeah, the funny farm.
No, it's a farm where you can run free with other
Oh, with other
mentally ill
lunatics.
people. My mom was mentally ill, um, to say the least. Yeah, I wonder if. We always thought my brother would be a serial killer because he used to hurt animals and light shit on fire, like animals and bugs, and he had all the call signs of becoming. Maybe he is. I don't even know. Could be. He lives in Washington. They have a shit ton of serial killers up there.
What do you say? Like shit on fire?
A shit ton of serial killers up there.
No, say he likes shit on fire. What do you mean? What do you mean?
It's like
He likes
carnage.
his.
It's
Oh,
carnage.
he likes his farts and stuff.
Well, he would light bugs and
Oh,
animals on fire, Rob.
I thought you meant excrement.
Well, he probably did that too. I don't know. He, yeah, he would hurt things, and yeah. So we thought for sure he was gonna be a serial killer, which is fun. It's awesome. My best part of my childhood was growing up with potential serial killer. Loved it. Never
So,
knowing if you're gonna be alive in the morning. It's fun. It's like a roller coaster.
so he's so if he's just turned out to be a drug addict, schizophrenic, I suppose he's done quite well for himself. You know,
I suppose so.
he's exceeded expectations.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has. That little voice in his head said, don't be a serial killer. Yeah. So, hey, there you go.
Well done, Uncle Mike.
Well done, Uncle Mike. That's so funny. Well, there's one way to look at it. So what I had asked you when you were talking about hearing voices and stuff, I asked you, like, has it ever crossed your mind that, like, have you ever, when you hear the voices, feel that it's something satanic? That because as as we were talking, when people hear voices like that, nobody ever hears the good voices, right? Nobody's ever hearing like, you can do this, I got your back, you're so beautiful, you are not fat, these jeans make your butt look so good. Nobody hears those voices, right? So, I mean, because if we did, we'd keep them. Nobody would care if they hit right. Am I right?
Sound like I've got a raving homosexual in my head.
No, you just a positive voice, like you, Rob. If you took a picture of yourself, you might look at it and say, "Not bad." I'm
Oh
just,
dear
I'm just
me.
saying as an example. Uh, but when nobody has a problem with hearing good voices, they're always bad.
Well,
Why
on a
is that?
on a serious note, I and like I said to you, yes, I do feel sometimes that maybe they are demonic in nature, but I it I try to not think that because it scares me.
Right.
I would rather know that I'm just hearing voices and it's maybe down to, medication or certain other factors, you know,
Right.
but they could be. Like you said, it's not very often that you hear that someone who does hear voices, it's positive. It's more than likely negative. And
Yeah. So maybe, and what is it? If it's a physical thing, a mental illness, an illness of your brain, then it's got to be in the same part of the part of the brain in which has the negative feelings, the negative thoughts. We all have negative thoughts every day, right?
yeah,
I mean, and those are our own voices usually that say, you know, Jesus Christ, those jeans make my ass look huge. You know, they're always putting you down. My own voice, like, is never nice to me. Uh, and that's why, like, psychiatrists and stuff say, think positive, because the thinking negative, it does have an effect on you, obviously. But if you're hearing the voices that aren't your own thoughts and they're in the same place, it must have to do with that area of the brain rather than someplace that's complementary. And why is it never in the complementary part, I wonder?
I don't know. I don't know. But it's like, for me, that it's oh, it's so hard to explain. It's like all different people. When I can hear the individual voices, if it was just one voice,
Yeah?
then maybe that would be easier to handle. But when it's a lot of voices being negative, um,
You hear
and
male and female
yeah,
voices?
yeah, and when I'm trying to go to sleep, they will. I literally feel like it's. I can feel the breath in my ear when they're saying they'll scream to wake up, get up.
See, that's what is, and you and Jeremy are going to do a podcast about this part in particular. Um, that's what is that's what made me wonder because when you said they wake you up, that that part of your brain is still going and wakes you up. If we were talking about if we were talking about you and we were talking about demon possession, let's say, we we were talking about a story that was we'd heard on Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, and they were saying that they could feel the breath, the voice woke them up. Zach Bagans would say, "That's a demon.
Yeah,
That's a haunting maybe." The physical aspect of it is what made me say, how well, 300 years ago, what would they have said about that? Would they have not said that you were possessed, or I mean, what would they have said? Sure, it wouldn't have been, well, you have a mental illness. They would have they would have pinned it on a supernatural of some sort, right? The devil.
yeah. Or they burnt me at the stake.
Yeah, because you're a witch. Yeah, really though. We're really lucky in this day and age that I mean, even now we struggle with how mental illness is seen. But we are, comparatively speaking, very lucky compared to how it used to be seen. Because you probably wouldn't even be able, you wouldn't feel safe even telling anybody about this, let alone getting on a podcast.
Hmm. But I would. I am looking forward to doing that podcast with Jeremy because I think he can maybe approach it from a completely different angle.
Yeah, I think you will.
And yeah, it's talking about being woken up. I tend to try and then, with the voice in my head, or I'll even say out loud, just let me go to sleep. Let me sleep. And the voices will say, we're not going to let you sleep, and then start laughing and start berating me that they're not going to let me sleep and they're going to keep me awake and they're going to keep me awake for, we won't let you sleep, we won't let you sleep. And it's just, that's when it's really bad. That's when I really, really struggle to try and, you can't, sometimes you need to take a step back and just get your head together.
Yeah.
It doesn't let you have that time to do that
Right.
because there's noise all the time.
Right.
I think a lot of people think, well, it's just voices, get over yourself, kind of thing. Um, but it's just having that little bit of peace sometimes to sit down and just be quiet. I mean, I try to listen to music. Music helps.
Yeah.
Listen to music, but sometimes you don't want to be listening to music 24/7
Right. Right.
because sometimes I just want to have nothing in my head, and I never have that. I never have that
Do you remember
quietness.
a time in your life that you did have that?
No, not now. Not now. I don't know. There may have been a time. I don't know.
And it feels exhausting.
Very, very tiring. Yeah, that's the worst part, and it's a vicious circle because the more tired you get, the more it keeps you awake. The more tired you get, the more vulnerable you are. The more tired.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It's just one of those.
Right.
You end up
Right.
being like we were talking the other day. I think yesterday about because you've not been sleeping very well. That you get
Mm.
overtired then, and then you can't sleep
Mhm.
because I don't know, you can get overtired, can't you? And it's sort of really hard to get off
Mhm.
to sleep.
Yes.
So it's really really difficult. And um, I'll hear things around the flat. One of the good things it likes to do is bang on the front door, and I'll go and answer the door. Go to the door. There won't be anybody there. And as I'm walking
Is
away
this
from
while
the
you're
door,
falling asleep? This is when
no,
you're
this is
awake.
when I'm away. This is one of the things it likes to do. Um, and I'll walk away. I'll take a few steps away from the door, and then it'll be bang, 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 and it's as though there's someone at the door. And now I just don't answer the door. I just let it bang. But that bang is in my head. It's in my head.
Oh.
That banging is in my head, and it's really hard to sort of try and distinguish what's real. You end up when you're really tired in a state where you don't know what is real and what is not real because it's just such a, I'm not going to swear, it's just such a complete, it's like your body's attacking itself.
Mm. And you do not have schizophrenia.
They told me no, excuse me, they've told me that I have PTSD and a personality disorder,
Hmm.
not schizophrenia. They told me I haven't got schizophrenia. And I have visual problems as well.
You do?
I Yeah, I see. It's going to sound really stupid. This I
Oh.
I see big worms.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the house, going in and out of the wall and the floor. Yeah, big,
Really?
huge. Yeah, that's
Like you're
that's
sitting there watching TV
yeah.
and you just see that and you get to the point where you just have to what, ignore it? Like you just keep watching TV like it's or does it draw your attention?
It draws my attention all the time, but um, your your brain can make you think it's real,
Yeah.
even though you know it's not real.
Perception is reality.
And it doesn't necessarily scare me. It used to, because obviously I used to think I was completely losing my mind. Excuse
Right.
me, just getting a drink. I I've not I won't say on the podcast what the medication is for, but they changed some of my medication once. Do you remember me telling you?
Yeah.
And it went like horrendously bad. I was really in a bad place, and it was the reality just went out the window. So they had to take me off this certain medication and put me back on the original medication,
Uh-huh.
and it slowly calmed down. But I took the new medication at 7 o'clock on the first morning when I was supposed to change the meds, and then give or take an hour, maybe 2 hours, it was like switching a switch in my
Huh.
head, and everything. It was like a brass band, a riot.
Mm.
Everything was going on in my head, and um, there was all sorts of stuff. Um, have you ever seen that film called Tremors about
Mhm. Yeah.
the weird worm things?
Yeah.
It's like them, similar to them, coming in and out of the floor and the ceiling
Mm.
and the walls. That's when it's bad. That's when it's really, really bad. But the medication does help to some degree. But I haven't had my medication upped for a while, so I will hopefully be getting that sorted out in the next couple of weeks. Well, hopefully next week. But yeah,
Right.
but I'm not schizophrenic,
Huh.
according to what they've said.
Do you would it feel better to you if you got a diagnosis of schizophrenia so you could be treated for that? Or would you do you prefer that you don't have the diagnosis of schizophrenia?
Well, when they changed my medication over, and I had that incident where it was really bad. One
Yeah.
of the consultants, not my consultant, but another one of the consultants, said that I would be. This is safeguarding issues to do with my daughters,
Mm.
which basically they wanted to stop me seeing my girls,
Really?
and which got completely sorted very, very quickly by
Uh-huh.
my consultant. She, by my actual own consultant, sorted that, and she said, "No, I've known you for like 4 or 5 years. There's no problem there at all." So I think if I had that diagnosis of schizophrenia, I think that it might be difficult and it could cause me problems to do with me seeing my daughters. So
You
I'm
know, that's so upsetting because if you had a diagnosis of, diabetes, heart disease, even lung cancer, if you had a diagnosis of an illness in any other part of your body other than your brain, if you had lung cancer, nobody would say to you, perhaps he's not safe to be around his children. But you have a mental illness, and then people question themselves being around you. You know, that's why people hide their mental illness.
Oh
And
yeah.
then you have so many people who say, you know, if you just come to me, you know, like when people commit suicide and whatnot, if you just come to me, but how do you know who you can go to? Because um, I I had an experience once telling somebody something about me, and their reaction was um, something that had happened to me, not like a mental illness or anything, something that had happened to me, and their reaction was like, well, um, jokey jokey, but I don't want you around my kids. Like something happened to me, and that was your reaction. So mental illness, to say, you know, first off, everybody and their dog these days has anxiety. I don't. I'm gonna make enemies right now. No, you don't. No, you don't. It's not everybody has anxiety. You can have fear. You know, you can be scared. You can be nervous. If standing in front of people speaking makes you scared, that's a fear. It's not anxiety. And I get really, really, really tired of everybody having anxiety
Mm.
because it diminishes what people with real, honest to God anxiety go through in our lives. I'm not afraid of speaking in public. Well, I am afraid of speaking in public, but not it's not a fear, it's not a phobia, it's not I don't this makes me uncomfortable, so I have anxiety. No. It if I don't take medication for my anxiety, it is like living with whatever your most feared fear is. You know, snakes, spiders, heights. It's like living in that environment 24 hours a day with
Mm.
spiders on you or snakes all over your room or on top of a tight wire 24 hours a day. It it is something I can't explain it, but we used to say to my husband and say, "It's my brain. Why can't I control my brain? My thoughts. Why can't I control them? How is it that my brain is taking over?" And you know, it can get so bad that I would have to like, you know, people say, "Well, I have to check the door like 2 times before I go to bed." Okay, that's not anxiety. There's a normal level of that, people. There's a normal level of checking to make sure your purse is where your purse is supposed to be, or that you turn the oven on. If you have what I have, you will come out and see that the oven is off, and then you'll do that for the rest of the night or 2 days because it won't get out of your head. What if I didn't look at the right spot? What if it came back on when I walked away? What if I looked too quickly and I didn't notice it? Everything in your brain is a what if. What if? What
Yeah.
if this happens? What if that happens? What if, what if, what if? Until it's exhausting.
Mm.
Real depression, real depression is dark. I've had depression so profound that I had no feelings. Like no feelings. Nobody listening to this right now can go 5 minutes and not have a feeling. I mean, stop this, test yourself. See if you can go for 5 minutes just sitting in a chair and not having a feeling. your brain's going to wander away and you're going to start thinking about where you're going for dinner tomorrow. And you're going to have an opinion about that. Oh, I'm not really in the mood for spaghetti. You're going to have a feeling within a few minutes. But I had none, zero. And I can't, what feeling I did have over that was pure terror. I thought if we feelings are really underrated. I because I thought if I have to live like this, where my brain feels like it's black and cold, I'll kill myself right now. I can't
Mm.
do that. And real depression. That's why when people say people who commit suicide are weak, that
No.
makes me furious. No, they're not weak. What they have done is the bravest thing in their life because it goes against your entire. You are born with a basic instinct to survive. The minute you're born, you will crawl up to your mother's breast and nurse so that you have nutrition. You're born with it. It is
Yeah.
the basic core of our being is to survive. And when you let that go and you can do something to yourself, that is bravery of I can't even grasp what it or they've gotten to that point where they have zero feelings.
Mm.
Zero feelings and they're just not afraid anymore. And so I just get like talking about mental illness. I really get tired of people using it as an excuse, like it's the in thing to do now. It's
Mm.
so in to have anxiety. Oh, I have anxiety. Oh, it's my anxiety. I have anxiety. Everybody has anxiety. No, you don't. You have feelings. You have feelings. Obviously, some of you have real full fledged anxiety. But I feel like the majority of people who say they have anxiety have feelings. Yeah, you get nervous. You're afraid. You know, big deal. Those are human emotions. Anxiety is far and away removed from human emotion. It's not even close.
I agree.
And until we some mental illnesses are popular. Everybody wants to have anxiety. Everybody's like, I'm so depressed. That belittles the people who really deal with these issues because it is fighting every day of your life. A fight. So to have it, oh, I have anxiety. I'm so depressed. Shut the F up.
Mm.
It belittles those of us who actually deal with that, those emotions, that feeling, and struggle with it. And so there you have this mental illness that's the in thing to have right now. But if you say to someone, um, I hear voices, they say, Rob, nobody loves you, everybody hates you, you're no good, you don't have friends, and they're screaming at you, and you can see worms crawling through walls. That is not a, a popular mental illness to have, right?
No.
People are going to jump on that bandwagon. So because we can't talk about mental illness without some being some being like, oh yeah, I totally have anxiety too. Uh, but that's normal. This is crazy. We can't help people who have a mental illness and go on to do self harm because we always say, well, they could have come and talked to me. But what if you went and talked to somebody and said, this is what I see, this is what I live with, this is why I can't stand to be around one more day? Would they be the people who would be there for you and understanding? Or like most people who go, gotta go.
Mm.
We don't treat mental illness like it's diabetes. And people, it's there's a lot of people with a mental illness. We don't treat it like it's a heart. You have something with your heart. We don't treat it like you broke your leg. We don't treat it like it's a real injury. We don't treat it like it's an injury because we can't see it. You know, and if I walk into a store and have a panic attack, I don't get to have a handicap parking thing hanging from my car, right? Because it's a mental illness. Um, it's an illness, but we don't treat it like that. My
I
brain
agree.
is ill. It's ill.
Mm.
I come from a long line of illness, and it's just if we would treat it like it was no different than heart disease, cancer, um,
Diabetes, stuff like that.
diabetes. I heard a lady doing a TED talk who said that the death rate for suicide and cancer is the same, but one is acceptable, one is not. One, you're a warrior. One, you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. One, you're fighting an illness, and one, you're weak. They were weak. If you died, that's how you'd be talked about.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, and I thought, wow, that is really amazing. That is true. I just got on a soapbox, by the way.
No, but it's right. People don't realise. It's about you're fighting with yourself.
Yeah.
You're fighting with yourself all the time. And people, it is the in thing at the moment to say that you've got depression or you've got, you're anxious about whatever.
Hmm.
They don't understand what it's like when you really have got a fear of yourself.
Yes. Yes. Of your own thoughts,
Mm.
of what might happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to call my husband 10 times a day and tell him about my worries before I was on medication. And he would be like, you know, the 10th time I call him about the same subject. Like, are you sure the tire's not going flat? That's just an example. And he would be like, Tracy, you've called me 10 times to ask me if the tire's flat. And I'm like, I know, but I wanted to call you 100. So I'm doing pretty good. I mean, that was really like how I saw, like, how is my illness doing? Well, if I only call him 10 times, that's way better than what the amount of times I picked up my phone.
Well, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Rob, we have had a deep conversation today.
Didn't realise it's just gone 8 o'clock as well.
Wow. Well, I think we went off on a completely different subject, but I enjoyed it. I mean, I thought it was probably more helpful than the way we intended to do.
I hope people take it for what it is, and maybe if there is people out there that are struggling, who maybe find this by accident on purpose, someone tells them about it, maybe we might be, you know, maybe they'll know that maybe they'll know that they're not on their own, which is
Yeah.
a massive, massive thing.
Yeah. Are you in front of your fan?
Yeah, is it really bad? Sorry.
Yeah. It's okay.
Sus.
Look at me. I even know where Rob is in his house. Yeah, that's what I think too. This wasn't scary or frightening, but it was an interesting conversation.
Mm,
And I hope that maybe somebody will hear it and get help, not be embarrassed. And maybe if somebody comes to you out there and tells you about their mental illness, you understand that to look at it like they have cancer or diabetes or kidney disease as an illness, not as something they should pull their self up by the bootstraps. Sometimes people just don't have bootstraps anymore.
and sometimes people just want someone to listen.
Yeah, yes, listen. Listen is a huge thing. And try and understand. Because you never
Mm,
know how much that helped the person.
yeah.
I'm not a doctor. I just play one on the internet. Rob, I'm going to let you go. I know you need a rest.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for being with me today.
No problem.
And if you're not subscribed, you're probably running away.
Don't forget to hit that like button,
Yeah,
please.
hit the like button. Hit that like button. And if you want to know when my content goes up, which usually has is nothing like this. So, usually more about, you know, vampires and stuff. Which Rob and I have a podcast coming up about.
Can I just say, um, YouTube are not helping the smaller channels and the smaller content. So hit that like button, share if you can tell your friends because it all helps Tracy and it helps the channel. So please do that.
Yes, thank you. My last 7 videos have been demonetized before I even put them up. And if you compare those videos with other videos that I made that are monetized, there's no difference. They're um, doing this to a lot of channels. And my channel is not, my channel is advertiser friendly. I don't, even my stories are not gruesome. When I do true unsolved murder mysteries, I never, ever go into detail about how a woman, mostly it's a woman, has been brutalized in specific ways. I always am in general. Sometimes I skip it. A lot of times I don't put it in there at all because, you know, in case a child wanders upon it, you don't. There are things. I'm very conscious of that. I have children. Rob has children. Um, my I have grandchildren. I don't. I'm conscious of the fact that a kid could stumble across, and I make sure that they're not going to hear or find something that is um, something you're going to have to sit down and have a talk about. So it's not that I'm not advertiser friendly. And if you are sitting around and you have nothing to do, you could even mention that to YouTube because they're just, I think, trying to get out of having to pay the littler, the smaller channels.
Yeah.
And I would really, really, really appreciate that. So, good night to you, and good night to you, Rob.
Good night, Tracy.
And I'm going to talk to you tomorrow, Rob. Okay.
Yeah, not a problem.
All right.
All right, bye bye.
Bye.